tuned. The show is about to begin. Stay tuned. The show is about to begin. Stay tuned. The show is about to begin.
We are back on Fireside. What Are You Made Of show? It's your boy C-Roc. Welcome back and live on YouTube on Mike C-Roc. Who's me? This guy. On my YouTube channel. I'm so glad to be back here today with another great guest. You know, I want to continue to bring you people that have achieved things, that are working on great things. And the reason I want to do this is because I want to hear the ingredients that have gone into them and what they're doing. And I think that's important for all of us to get a behind the scenes look because, you know, there's the journey to success, and it's most of the time invisible. People don't get to see that part. And I think it's important that we continue to expose that. So today I have my friend Debbi Dachinger. Is that how you pronounce it?
Perfect. Yeah.
Debbie's in the building. She's the 16-year host of the award-winning Dare to Dream podcast, heard on Apple Podcasts, seen on YouTube, plus all major podcast platforms. Debbi recently spoke at the Mexico City World Congress Ufology. I never saw that word before. Ufology.
Ufology.
Ufology. So is that like UFO?
Yes.
Okay, so now they're calling them UAPs. So I forgot about the word UFO because now the news is all UAPs nowadays, isn't it? Ufology event. She's also a book writing and media interview coach, certified shamanic energy healer, and the lead singer of the Lions of Lyra band. There's all kinds of words in here I messed up. I apologize, Debbi. You can kick my butt later.
Okay.
Well, welcome to the
You
show.
got it. Good to meet you, Mike. Thank you. Thank you. It is so good to be here. It's such an honor. And I'm excited for what's going to transpire in this conversation.
Now, is it Lions of Lyra?
Perfect. Lions of Lyra. Yeah, Lyra was a star. It is no more, but it was a star in a galaxy far, far away.
Awesome. All right, cool. So listen, we start this show the same way every time, and that's with the namesake. What are you made of, Debbi?
Oh, man, I'm made of grit, true grit, resilience, deep sensitivity and awareness, connection. I love connecting with people. So I'm very much made up of curiosity of others, desire to connect with others and support them. And I am made of, what a great question for me right now. Thank you for this reflection. I am made of the stuff that finishes things, no matter what the inner obstacles are, the outer obstacles, or how new or how big I'm going to fly. I am made of finishing things and going big.
You know, I just came up with a new saying. I want to run it by you. I love that. Finishing no matter what. Let's get it done. Go big. You know, the thing is, big is subjective anyway, right? Like, you know, this could be big to some people based on if they're this big, you know what I mean? And then this could be big. So it's all subjective. And big means different things to different people. We're going to dig into that. But I got this new saying, and I say, do it despite the fact. So, like, no matter what somebody says that's stopping them, slowing them down, or whatever, you could put do it despite the fact in front of it. And, you know, I've been leaning into this. It's a mindset thing. So doing it despite the fact. I love those things. Now let's get into your story here, because, you know, I see a lot of things in the bio. You have a podcast. We're going to talk about, you spoke in Mexico. The news just came out yesterday that there was a gentleman that spoke to the Congress in Mexico about 2 alien mummies that he brought in front of Congress. I don't know if you saw that. So that was all over the news, USA Today, all over the place yesterday. And we've seen a lot of news about UFOs. So there's a lot of for us to talk about, but also you're in a band. I mean, you're doing a lot of things. So where did this all start for you? Where did you grow up, and what kind of childhood did you have?
Yeah, that's cool. I grew up in New York, on Long Island, in a place called North Belmore. I grew up with a lot of smart people in my class. It's amazing where they've all gone and what they've become. And I think I had a very colorful past. I think New Yorkers are characters, so I'm super grateful. I laughed a lot. I had a huge imagination. I loved music. I sang as a kid. Music was very prevalent in my family, and acted all the time. So when I went out in the world, that's what I did. I acted and I sang professionally for a very, very long time. And that was literally my identity from childhood deep into adulthood. And one year when I was booking more jobs than ever, film, a traveling theater show, commercials, I was doing so well, and something inside of me was shifting. And at the time it was momentous, because I had no clue. How do you deal with the idea that that's who I am? Everybody knew me growing up as that. Everybody knew me in my adulthood. You were an actress, you were a singer, end of label. And when that started to change, I did not know what to do. So I resisted for a long time. And then I thought, well, resistance, how's that working out for you? Not very well. And I surrendered, because I knew no other way to manage what was going on. And so I surrendered it, and I said, if I'm supposed to be doing something else, I need to be pointed. I rarely rest on my laurels. I'm often excited by things. And so it's a gift, because it's also a gift and a curse, by the way, because it can be exhausting. But the gift is, when it's managed well, that excitement leads me to the next right thing. And that was my journey. I made jewelry. I started making jewelry. People saw it on me and said, where can I get that? I said, from me. And when I realized I have a business, I immediately started selling in 5 stores across the US. That was very successful for 5 years. Then I joined Toastmasters, and I was like, oh, I really like this. I want to do something with this. And I started delivering talks on how to create goals all around Los Angeles. And then I got a call to sing in front of a band, and that was beautiful. I sang in front of a big band and a jazz band. And then somebody, and this is like over 3 years, by the way. This is not a condensed, month time. It had a flow to it. And often when one thing was leaving, the next thing was coming in. I got a call from a producer saying that somebody had recommended me back from my acting days to do a cartoon voiceover. I'd never done one, but I loved the script, and I beat out 5 other actresses. I got it. And the pay was great, but mostly it was so fun for my soul, because I love doing voices. And the next piece, and I feel like the universe was laughing all the way on my journey, the next piece was that I thought, how can I get my voice out there more? I got an agent, but I was going out for a lot of commercials and it wasn't fun. And so I saw this ad 16 years ago for radio, and I thought, that's it. That's how I'm going to use my voice. And even though that was my thought process, I am really clear today, looking back on my journey, that had to happen. I had to start a radio show at a time when nobody did it. And then when this weird thing called podcasting came about, I threw my hat in that ring too. Then I started writing books. Then I started being interviewed, and something was born. And then people said, how can I do what you're doing? Can you coach me? A business was born from that. And it's just an amazing ride, because there is nothing static in my life. The pond doesn't sit still for very long, because I feel like new opportunities are presented to me. And when it really feels like it's alignment and the next right piece, I say yes. And I'm in the midst of a big yes right now, a big leveling up. And it's fascinating to manage what goes on in my head and keep myself on the path of true excitement. But that's how I got here. I started out as very young actress, singer in New York, moved out to LA, went to school for that, graduated, did it for a long time, and then until it stopped being my path. But the beautiful thing is that elements of it come into play. Having learned how to speak through Toastmasters, being on stage, singing. Now I sing with a band. And so I feel like all that creativity is still there, but I now have great purpose in who I am and how I help people. And I think that's what's different.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that with us. Did you ever think about or dream about television and movies, like shows or film? And if so, did you ever have opportunity there?
I always dreamed about it. Yes. We all want all the different venues. And I did do television, and I did television. And it was actually the year that I booked my first film that I dropped out of acting. I just left it all behind. So I got cast in a really great film as a therapist. The role was as a therapist. And something was haywire. So I didn't ever get to do that, but I did do commercials. I did do television. I did a lot of theater.
Awesome. I love that. And, I have this thing, and, I'm 46 years old now, but I had this thing come to me over the last couple of years that you need to get into film. You need to be on television. You need to be in food. Like, you got to be in front of the camera. I don't know where it's coming from. It's just something that keeps coming. So I'm open to listen to it. It's not something that I dreamt about as a kid necessarily, but it's something that keeps coming to me now because I feel like I have it. I have this ability, and I love being in front of the camera too. So it's like one of the things, I don't know if I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but when you've been given something, a talent, a blessing, whatever you want to call it, or some kind of ability, I feel like it's my obligation to fulfill that or use that in some way. Have you felt that as well with some of the blessings you've been given, and then felt that obligation that, hey, I didn't really choose this, but I feel like I have.
Mike, I am so on board with you. And I feel like along with those gifts, when something big, like a big opportunity is presented, even though there may be those thoughts like, I don't know if I can do this, and I've never done this before, and how does that work? And what if, and what, that's fine. That's just newness to me. I've come to intimately recognize that as newness. And I teach that to my book writing folks. Like, I do a class for book writing twice a month on Zoom. And many of my students are first-time authors. And they get to that point, it's like, and I take them down, right? Down 5 notches, because I let them know it's actually okay to feel like that. It's about something being new, but don't let it stop you. And, as far as the TV thing, I think it's a very interesting time to be alive, because there are so many cool shows on Prime and on Hulu that are available. There are so many amazing documentaries. Like, there are ways for people like you and me to get involved with things like that don't look like a movie star or a celebrity, but there are venues for us, for our voice to be heard. There's I have a guy who reaches out to me all the time who does documentary films. I wish I could tell you the people he's working with, but I can't. It's under wraps. But he'll reach out to me and say, Deb, you know everybody. I need somebody a coach who can talk about XYZ. And then I refer them to him, and sometimes they get put in his movie, and they're amazing movies. So when you say you have that passion, I mean, I would say then you got to go for it. Like, energetically be open and allow those opportunities to come to you, or maybe look out for them a little bit just to get the ball rolling, because it could be that your voice is important there. And 100%, if my gifts are not being used right, then it's going to go to somebody else who's got the gifts. No, time isn't going to wait for me. It's going to march on and find the right person who says yes. And all it takes is a yes.
Yes, that's it. That's exactly. And sometimes you got to cause the yes. So, Deb, so talk to me about energy. And where did you start to come up with the understanding and the knowledge of energy and the awareness, and using that now in practice with, shamanism? Like, where did that come from for you? Where did that start? It's Christianity and church. They would talk about your testimony. What's the...
Yeah, super interesting that you would say that. I don't have a deep religious background. I was raised Jewish, and it was me having fun. It was just a blast, ritual, food, dance. But I didn't have a real connection to, a higher self, a soul, a God, a source, a universe. And I think I've always had that. I really believe I was born with this interesting connection, but it took so long to understand it and who I was. The reason why I started pursuing this, it's kind of a fascinating story, but in 2019, I went out to Costa Rica and I did 4 nights of drinking ayahuasca and yahe. Pretty extreme, and one of the most powerful experiences of my life. And while I was under the influence of ayahuasca, which is a plant, it's natural, it can't hurt you, it can't kill you, but it can open you up for very deep healing and understandings about yourself and the cosmos and everything. But I kept getting these visitations that were telling me who I was. And, you're a healer, you're a shaman, you're a priestess. And I was like, I don't think so. Maybe these are people I interview, but I don't think that's me. And so we had like this boardroom where it was night after night of me contesting what they said. And I say they, but what I really mean is it felt very divine, this loving, gentle, but relentless energy. And night after night, I was visited, same thing. And when I came out of that and back to the United States, I was like, what was that? And I told a few friends, and they gave me sessions to see if we could suss it out. And I did get to see some very powerful things about myself and my past lives that I had never been aware of. But it's been a journey, and suffice it to say, our music is somewhat shamanic and medicine and very uplifting. And then I heard someone speaking last year in a webinar, and as coaches, we're always hiring coaches, right? We're always growing, whether it's business or personal. And I heard somebody speaking, and my heart just went, that same excited feeling I'm telling you about, like follow that energy. My heart went, Deb, you need to do this. And my next thought was, you're nuts, Debbie, because this guy's class is 6 months. It is an extra 30 hours on top of everything else in life and business you're doing. You're never going to make it. Like, how? And I went, I can't ask how. I can just say yes. I feel the yes, and I have to trust everything's going to fall into place financially, time-wise, client-wise. And it did. It absolutely did. When you're committed and in like that, whatever it is you say yes to, it literally works out. I graduated, changed my life. I now am a shamanic energy practitioner. So I do that out in the world, groups, community for those who live in Los Angeles. And then I do individual sessions remotely through Zoom. And I thought, I need time off. And then they invited me to another class. And I said yes. So I'm in the middle of it right now. And but I got the yes, the energetic yes. So I hope that answers your question about energy. But for me, it's about a presentation that I say yes to.
Yes. It does answer the question. I got to take a step back though for a second, because I've heard a lot of people go into these retreats and things. Can you tell us what it's like? Do you drink something? And then tell us, like, so you drink it, then what happens? Take us through that a little bit so people understand it. Because I also heard that some people sit in this dark spot. I don't know if that's the same thing, in this dark, hot igloo box or something. I don't know if that's the same thing or not, but can you take us through what you went through and how you felt? And then were you scared with some of it and what you thought?
Very, very good questions. So I will back up to say I was invited by a fellow podcaster to join him and a bunch of people to go do this. And my first thought was, you're crazy. That's drugs. I'm not doing that. I mean, I just thought, he's going to sit and do what for 4 nights? I had so much judgment. And, never say never. Because I was in that place. And then 3 months later, I cannot explain what happened, but I suddenly, bam, had this feeling, oh my God, I have to do this. What is this? I have to do this. And it unfolded beautifully too, because I did say yes to that. I had a lot of fear going into it. So yeah. And to be clear, when you say some people sit in the dark, some people this, that's accurate. It's actually, it depends where you go and who you work with. So for instance, for people who go to Peru and they sit with the Shipipo, which is an indigenous people, the Shipipos do have darkness, they have silence, and they sing songs called Icaros. Icaros are these beautiful prayers that are sung over people. You don't even have to understand the words. You can feel what's happening, but people have their very private internal journeys. And I've done that before because I performed for ceremonies. So I've sat with somebody who does that. Mostly what I've done is a different form. And so just to be clear, I've drunk, ayahuasca I've done about 27 times. And it's different every single time because I'm different every time.
27 times? I didn't even know I didn't even know anything about that. I thought it was like one time, maybe a couple. 27 times, man. That sounds like a good time.
It's beautiful to me. So let me give you an example of why it's so important. I feel it's the greatest healing tool. And if more people used it, including the government, I think we'd probably have a lot more peace because there'd be a lot more inner healing and connection. So most recently, while I hadn't drunk for 1.5 years, and I had this feeling like it was like a download. I don't know how else to explain it, but I felt like grandmother ayahuasca, because that's what we call her, the grandmother, had called to me and said, you're in shaman school. It would be a very good time for you to sit with me. And so in my best thinking or ego, I'm not sure which, I thought, yeah, I'm going to go sit with ayahuasca and I'm going to get all these shamanic downloads. And that's what I believed going in. That was my intention in the circle when we all started. But that's not why she invited me there. So while I was there, I was cleaning up my relationship with my mother. And that's all the plant of the divine kept showing me over and over. I had so much trouble with it that at some point I called over the shaman and I said, man, this is like hours. I'm done. Like, I got it. And he said, you didn't get it. Otherwise, she wouldn't stop. And in that moment, I just thought, wow, I felt very peaceful. And I surrendered and I said, okay, show me what you need to show. Clean up what was going on. And then she said to me, your mother's going to pass. And I thought, okay, a very peaceful state. Okay, just taking in information. And exactly, a week and a half after doing that, and by the way, this is very recent. This was in May. A week and a half later, my mother's health took a huge turn. She ended up in hospice, and on June 28th, she passed. And I feel in my heart so deeply grateful that there is something that grows somewhere on this planet that has ancient divine wisdom and cared enough about me to call me energetically and say, you need to come sit with me. And in sitting with her, that she was able to prepare me for my mother's passing. And I was so present for that whole experience. So that's just one insight. But please know that every time I sit with ayahuasca, it is entirely different. It can be hilarious. You can see different dimensions. You can be healing things you never considered in your life that are obstacles. Some people go there and they get amazing business downloads. It can be anything and everything.
And so is there a way eventually where you can get to that state on your own and not have to rely on ayahuasca?
Oh, I love that question because you absolutely can. 100%. And
Well,
I
before you
know
answer, Deb, before
a
you
lot
answer,
of
I'm gonna before you answer, I just want to kind of say that makes you a hardhead then a little bit, right? Because it took you 27 times. I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you because you went 27 times. I'm a
I
little
think
funny
I'm
too.
somebody
So
who grows and grows and grows. You know, I'm open to growth. Like
yeah,
I
no, I'm
have
messing
been
with you.
my whole life, like whatever it takes kind of person. That's very East Coast. Um, what was the question?
I set you up in a way. I said, "Is there a way to get to that condition without ayahuasca eventually?" And you said, "Yes, there is." And I want that answer, but I was just messing with you because I said that you must be stubborn because it took you 27 times. But anyway, there's a little delay here, so it messes up my jokes. But anyway, continue.
You absolutely can. Some people are born into that state. Some people can achieve that state. Many people can, and many people can't. And so for those who can't, just want some assistance. And by the way, you're absolutely right. Some people go once and it is a game changer. And that's all they need. Not everybody needs to do what I do. And again, I just check in and see, is this a yes or a no? And I follow it. And, when it becomes a no, I won't need to do it anymore. And it's not like I do it all the time. It's over years and years and
Yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah. Does it make
But
you?
I did feel like on this side,
Does it make you sick? Like
sorry.
when you first drink it, does it make you sick?
Right. So here's the thing. Ayahuasca doesn't make us sick. Our trauma makes us sick. So she will go in the plant and water molecules surround trauma. And these are persistent things that probably 90 years of therapy won't get rid of. And she surrounds the trauma and expels it through the body. For most of us in our regular life, if we throw up, it's a terrible experience. But when you're in ayahuasca, you literally have the feeling that something really negative that's been plaguing you, holding you back or suppressed, whatever it is leaving your body. And it's grace. It's grace that it's done so quickly. I don't, by any means, throw up all the time. It's rare, but when I have, I've been clear that something is leaving me that I want to leave me.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for being so transparent with me.
Maybe you need to come drink with me next time.
Yeah, I got to think about that. Yeah, I have to think about that. But I'm open to learning. I'm open to learning. So now I want to talk about UFOs now. So talk about the experience in Mexico, and then what is your background with this, and what are your
Cool. Mexico's coming up. It's in December. And that's one of the huge things I'm planning for. Working on a film right now for it. Yeah, it's big. And so that's another subject that I was very judgmental about. And I did have access to people along my radio and podcast career, really notable people, but I wasn't in the headspace to understand at all what they were talking about. And something changed, and I just felt this incredible truth and started to pursue it. And, I was very much met with, oh, you're pursuing this? Here's information. Here's this expert. Just everything started to come into my life. And it is really funny to look back and see I was so scared of it because what we see in the movies, and I was so judgmental and completely ignorant. And where I am now, and that now all these things are coming to me around this subject. I have seen spacecraft. I have done something that Dr. Stephen Greer talks about, CE5, which is consciously getting together with a group and going to a place like Joshua Tree and we do meditations and beautiful sound bowls and call in a spacecraft. We've definitely had experiences. I've gone to places in Arizona in the desert and seen amazing things. And I've been on retreats where pretty crazy experiences, paranormal, that were extraterrestrial started to happen. And I didn't feel afraid at all. There was very benevolent energy. And what I really felt, Mike, was seen. I felt like I'm so new to this space. I'm not like these other people who are so well schooled in this area, but I feel like I'm being presented proof over and over again. And that felt like grace to me. And I also feel like we're on the precipice of a really new time where there's going to be open contact depending on how humanity behaves. If we can figure out more peace and more sustainability and care for the planet and others. But they're ready. I mean, the benevolence, I want to be really clear that we're very protected, and the benevolence are ready for this advanced galactic experience with humanity, starting in a couple of years. And I've been told by some prevalent experts that starting in 2 years is when the first opportunity for open, like non-negotiable, that no government can shut it down, etc. It will be obvious this is truth, will start to happen. But again, it depends on our timeline.
And so can you share anything that you've seen? Like, by the way, this is like, I got to tell you something really quick. So 4 years ago, when I decided to get known and stop like just playing a small game in my local market in real estate, when I was doing real estate, I started thinking to myself, how big do I want to go? What size game do I want to play? And I started thinking nationally. If I do national, I might as well go global. Podcasting's open. There's all different ways you can do this. But then I started seeing the UFOs and the UAPs online on the news, and I'm like, the government's talking about this now? I don't know if there's aliens. I don't know personally. You may know more than I do. But if there's aliens, I want the aliens to know who I am and what I do and what makes me amazing. And I made this declaration, and it was a mind expansion exercise. And when I did that, everything started to just start operating. Like I started getting known, opportunities started coming, and I just noticed some transformation that people would start to say, like, oh, this is C-Roc, this is C-Roc. And it seemed like it went to a place where I was known prior to doing a lot of the work that you thought that it would take to get out there. Does that make sense? So it's just funny that you're saying that. And I'd love to hear, like, do you have any experiences you can share with us? Specific?
Absolutely. And I've heard other stories about people who have made similar, different prayers, but they've been answered. What if our guides and angels, actually, some of them are extraterrestrials and we just see them in the form we can accept them. So that's beautiful. So the first time, was it the first time? No. But we were doing CE5. We're out in Joshua Tree. There was 4 of us. And it's really dark out there. We were doing everything and so frustrated because we wanted so much to see a spacecraft and it just wasn't happening. And finally at 2 a.m. we were like, all right, well, this has been a blast, but nothing's going on. Let's just roll it back into the car and head home. It's a 4-hour drive back to LA. And it's late. And we were on the freeway, and strangely enough, on the freeway. So this is, to give anybody who knows this area logistics, heading back from the Palm Springs, Joshua Tree area. And we were getting towards the 60 and the 10 freeways. There were still a lot of cars on the road, probably because it was a Saturday night or Sunday morning. And all of a sudden, the 2 gals in the back were asleep. My boyfriend was driving. I was in the front, and I looked up and I just thought, oh my God, there was this huge triangular craft hovering, no noise, no movement in the middle of the sky, but I could see it through the truck window and lights. And I started hitting Rob and saying, "Do you see that? Do you see that? Do you see that? Pull over, pull over, pull over." It was amazing. Nobody else on the freeway saw it. And then I woke the two gals up and they were like, OMG. They grabbed their phones. We finally, through traffic, could make our way to the side. And when we pulled over, this craft turned on its side, again, noiselessly, and then went off over another freeway. We took as many, by that time, sadly, of course, the videos are so far away, but we do have some video on that. And at that point, we got back in our cars and it began to track us. And then it went off on its way. That was my first. Another time, I was with a group of people in Arizona, and this is a place that is known for a lot of UFO activity. And I was really tired because of the drive there. We went to bed and we woke up the next morning and heard everybody talking about the crafts they saw. And they were showing us the pictures and the videos, and it was amazing. But I was so pissed. I was like, I can't believe I missed it. So I just had this prayer, like, please, please let me also experience this. And we would do music. It's a really well-known person, and we always do music for her events. And so we were out in the middle of the desert on a cliff, just beautiful area. And we do our music, which they say is an invitation to have your being in the right energetic place, you know, a good place, is an invitation to them. And so we had all of us there with the invitation, with the music. And when we were complete with the music, we went back to our chairs. And at that point, rising out of the clouds, there was a light show that was, I don't know where anything like that comes to, but it was spectacular. Always there was a triangle of 3 orange lights, and there were other lights. It almost felt like a light communication. I don't know what that was, but they stayed with us for a long time, like for hours. And I guess the last story I'll share with you is one of my first experiences, and I was in a group setting, and I had a lot of hip problems at the time. We were sitting like in these lawn chairs. Someone was conducting the invitation to the extraterrestrials, and I was sitting there not involved at all in the meditation, but in my head going, oh my God, please let this be over so I could go get a good chair, because like my freaking leg is killing me. And I started praying for help. I was in so much distress. And all of a sudden, this loud sound went off. And so it sounded like a phone. Everybody was digging in their bag to say, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. My phone is what happened. And it was nobody's phone. And then I realized, oh, my phone is turned off. How is that possible? And we pulled up my phone and it said emergency on it. And then the woman started telling us, we are being visited by somebody because somebody here is in extreme distress and they've come to help that person. And she said, and they're standing right there. And it was right in front of me. First of all, I was mortified because I said, I'm new to this group, but I'm so embarrassed that this just happened. But this is my phone. I don't even know how to hit emergency, but it was a medical emergency. And it really was. And they were there to help me through that. So it was a profound experiences. And then, you know, I've got pictures of things, orbs this big that showed up, spacecraft flying off, all sorts of things. So I hope to have much more.
Where do you think these come from?
You know, it's a huge cosmos pick. The Pleiades, the Sirians, the Orions, the Yael, the Gael, I could name the reptilians, the mantis. There's, we're just a tiny little speck in this ginormous, just our own universe. And then there's the whole cosmos. And so they're from everywhere, other dimensions. They're from certainly other universes, and many of them way more advanced than we are.
So you're thinking, here's the thing that throws through my head. We don't know everything, and we can't even think big enough, because once we start thinking how big the universe is, we stop thinking because it overwhelms us. But as far as speed and travel, you think, just thoughts on this, You think it's more beyond the speed of light and all that? It's more dimension hopping because thinking about how far light travels in a light year, and then things are millions of light years away. To actually travel that fast is kind of, I don't know if that's even possible, but it's more of a dimension hopping. You think? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've been asking a lot of questions about that same situation and where physics and causality merge. So the science of physics and where causality comes together, how is that so with time travel? And they're so interesting. I was just speaking with an expert yesterday about this who said, for you guys, for Earthlings, for humanity, you're living in this very 3D reality. So for you, it's like the concept, because you're not living with time travel right now. But for us, because this is just a part of, in fact, exactly what she says is it's so pedestrian that it's like going to a convenience store. That's how we think about it. But it starts with a thought. There are portals.
Whoa, whoa,
There's
whoa, 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 whoa,
technology.
whoa. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold
Mhm.
on, hold on. She said us. Who did she mean by us when she was referring to like? You said an expert at
Yeah.
first, but then she said us and you guys.
Wow. Okay. Busted. So the person I was speaking to channels extraterrestrials. And she's one of the many extraordinary people helping me with my project right now, the film I'm putting together. And when I was asking this being, this beautiful, loving, wise being about time travel, they really had to figure out how to explain to me something that is just an everyday occurrence should they choose it.
Yep. So
This
here's
is
the
a
why that I'm.
hilarious conversation.
Here's why I'm so open to this stuff because I know before we had cell
Mhm.
phones, before we had the internet, we couldn't wrap our heads around that back in the day, and then all of a sudden we have this, and then we couldn't wrap our heads around AI. Now we have this, but until we have it, a lot of times we can't conceive how that's even possible. So what else is out there? Because we've only been here for however long. This United States is 250 years old, 200 some years old, somewhere in that range. And look how much has happened in the last 5 years, let alone thousands. So that's why I'm open to it. A lot of people think we're crazy. I don't really give a shit what people think. I'm that kind of guy. Like, you do you live your life, but I don't really care what people think. I have an open mind and I want to learn as much as possible. And I appreciate you sharing some of that stuff with us because I know you do it at the expense of people thinking that we're crazy. And I don't really care. So I hope you don't care either.
Thank you. I appreciate the support. And yeah, but maybe there's a lot of people out there who are going, thank God, because I know this is truth. And for everybody who may even think we're crazy, I have tons of, awesome. You're welcome to your thoughts. I have nothing else to say because I was that person. I was that person. So maybe they'll awaken. And at least in my estimation, please, it's not a judgment. It's about an awakening to understand we're just a small part of something much, much bigger and more beautiful than most of us conceive of. And even with where I'm operating, it's bigger than where I conceive. So I'm just open to all of it, and I have very good discernment. That's important to me. I'm not just oh, yes, that sounds amazing. That must be true. I'm actually a huge skeptic. I'm open, but I'm a skeptic. And somehow in the middle of that, I'm able to suss out for myself what is real and what is good for me to pursue and what is good for me to leave behind. So I appreciate the conversation too.
Yeah, Deb, thank you. And as we wrap up here, I want to know this. What has podcasting, because that one agency is a podcast niche PR agency, okay? And we take clients, our clients are guests, and we go get them on a line podcast. And we're very good at what we do. But I try to get this through to people, the importance of podcasting in business as a personal brand. And what I want to know from you is what has podcasting done for you? Not just having your own show, but being able to go on other people's shows consistently. What has it done?
If you have any clients who are getting booked on shows and are not exceptional and are not getting results, such as filling workshops, selling books, having their tribe find them, new clients, send them to me, because I coach people and I have online programs how to be interviewed on radio and podcasts and get results. It is so near and dear to my heart. At this time, podcasting to me is everything. There's 5 million shows right now, and by next year or the year after, they're predicting 9 million. It's not going away. It's been doubling in size. If you were good and knew how to be interviewed, then understand, once your voice is heard, let's say there's 5,000 people right now. There may be more, but we'll keep it at 5,000 people. They're meeting Debbi Dachinger for the first time, book writing coach, interview coach. She can take a book to international bestseller. Those are things I do. And there's someone out there going, I need that. I want that. My tribe has just gotten to know me, liked me, and then hired me, right? And this is true for any of you out there. And what if I did it 4 times in a month? I got on 4 shows. I talked about books and media and this and that. And then out of that, 5,000 for each show, that's 20,000 people who would have never met me. I'm doing it from my home. I'm connecting with somebody beautiful like Mike. I'll probably create a relationship with him, and then we'll have an influencer relationship, helping each other going forward. It changes everything. And when we learned during COVID, when you couldn't go out of your house, couldn't go to networking, couldn't get up on stage, all the things we were used to, this became the everything, how to still connect with the world. Podcasting is about delivering content and value and doing it in a way that people really get to understand your gift to the world. And for those who need it, they can climb on board. I think it is the most important tool of our time.
I agree, and I love the way you just laid that out for everybody. And definitely we need to collab 100%, because, I don't want to just do something half-assed. I want to make sure we do it all the way and get people to get the full essence of podcasting and reach their potential. So, Debbi, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been one of my favorite episodes.
Oh, thank you. It's a joy to hang out with you, and I look forward to more in the future. And thanks to everybody who joined us.
So where's the best, before we go, where's the best way for people to engage with you?
Yeah, my name is my website. It's DebbiDachinger.com. Everything's spelled different, so if you get that right, you're in. It's Debbi, there's no E, Debbi, and the last name is Austrian, so it's Dachinger, DebbiDachinger.com. Find me on Instagram, Debbi Dachinger, Twitter, Debbi Dachinger, LinkedIn, Debbi Dachinger. Yeah, and my podcast, should you want to join me, did this conversation whet your appetite, it's Dare to Dream with Debbi Dachinger. And 16 years, I've got tons of shows, an amazing metaphysical conversation with channelers, healers, all sorts of really yummy, thought-provoking, and moving information.
Love it. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you for joining us today. If you're watching the replay, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for your support. It's your boy C-Roc here on the What Are You Made Of show on